Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland is recognized.
Mr. President, as we gather here on the Senate floor, over at the U.S. Department of Treasury, Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, not elected by a single American, has gained access to the U.S. payment system, payments that go to about $2 trillion worth a year. He's gained access to the personal information of millions and millions of Americans, Social Security numbers, bank accounts, all sorts of sensitive information that we do not want to be shared. It compromises people's privacy. And that kind of scenario is playing out across the federal government. Elon Musk and his so-called Doge boys are in many other departments. And every day that we wake up, we hear about another one. One department that we know they're in is the Department of State, and specifically USAID. Now, what we are witnessing here, Mr. President, is the result of the most corrupt bargain in American history. Because Elon Musk spent over $280 million to elect Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has handed the keys of the U.S. government over to Elon Musk. And damage is being done every day, and it is hurting the American people and the interests of the American people. I want to focus for now on the situation at the Agency for International Development, which has been a critical piece of our overall national security and foreign policy strategy. And AID has enjoyed bipartisan support in this body for its work for decades. And I want to thank the great patriots, the men and women who work for AID, for the important work they're doing for our country as we speak. But when President Trump turned the keys to the government over to Elon Musk began dismantling the Agency for International Development. Here's what he said in recent tweets about his plan to destroy USAID. Quote, "We spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper. Could have gone to some great parties, but I did that instead," unquote. He said, this is Elon Musk, quote, "USAID is a criminal organization. Time for it to die," unquote. I think my colleagues on both sides of the aisle would be surprised to know that they've been supporting a criminal organization all these years by voting to support the Agency for International Development. And let's make no mistake that his effort to dismantle AID is a gift to our adversaries. It's a gift to China, it's a gift to Russia, and others who want to do us harm around the world. In fact, one of Putin's cronies immediately posted on X, quote, "Smart move by Elon Musk," unquote, referring to dismantling AID. So this is not America first. This is America in retreat. And it has nothing to do with government efficiency and everything to do with aiding and abetting our adversaries. In fact, Mr. President, I think you know this, when you talk to our military leaders, they will tell you that our investment in AID is an important component of our overall foreign policy and national security strategy. You know, we spend about 50% of our discretionary budget on defense, actually a little more than half of our discretionary budget on defense. We spend about 2% on AID, and in fact, if you look at our overall budget, it's 0.6% for AID. Now, having a strong military is important. We all agree. But in addition to demonstrating the power of our military, we've always worked to also demonstrate the power of our example. trying to work with people around the world to provide a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more stability, and yes, help stop diseases from spreading around the world. Poverty and violence and disease, they spread like fire. And if your neighbor's house is on fire, you don't build a wall, you go for water. When you have an outbreak of disease in one part of the world, like we saw Ebola in Africa, by helping stop the spread of diseases, of course we help people in other parts of the world, but we also save American lives when we prevent diseases from spreading elsewhere. And if the world doesn't trust America to help, and believe me at this moment, they are doubting us, they will turn to China and Russia, and those adversaries will be itching to fill the vacuum. Now, Elon Musk's crusade against USAID is not only a security risk, it's also a purge of dedicated public servants who have committed their lives in service to the values our country holds dear. And thousands of AID employees have now been furloughed, many fired, and direct hires are being put on administrative leave. There's absolutely chaos in the AID system, and as Elon Musk said, he wanted to die, and that's what he's trying to accomplish. But for those men and women who serve our country as part of AID, they are being ordered to come home immediately. So thousands of our AID staff overseas were called back with just a few days' notice. Their kids are being pulled out of school in countries overseas. Many of them don't have homes to come back to at this moment. Could be homeless upon their return. And they're being ripped out of their lives where they're doing that important work for our country. Mr. President, USAID has more than 13,000 total employees worldwide. On Monday night, the email was sent out to all staff and then subsequently posted on USAID's website. You can go and look at it right now, telling all of them that they will be placed on administrative leave globally. Placed on administrative leave globally. This is absolutely cruel and an unnecessary infliction of punishment on Americans and others who've been our partners in this effort in supporting humanitarian causes and advancing U.S. priorities around the world. I'm hearing from many of these USAID employees, and what is really inspiring, at the same time it's heartbreaking, is they're not worried about themselves, but they are worried about the impact and cost and harm that will be done to the people that they're trying to help in places around the world. And Mr. President, what's happening here is just plain illegal. Now, Secretary Rubio said he wanted to give a waiver for all essential life-saving treatment. He said that on Wednesday. But the New York Times uncovered that no money has actually gone out. Money's still missing. And people are still in danger of imminent death. And even if the money got out the door, who is going to service it when everybody's been put on administrative leave, fired, or otherwise told not to show up to work? You know, I went down to the AID building on Monday when I heard what was happening, when I heard that Elon Musk told everybody not to come in to work, and really went up to the doors and asked if we could come in to talk to employees who might still be there. We were denied access. The folks there were told and instructed not to allow members of Congress to get into the building. You know, presidents are not kings, and you don't get to pick and choose what part of the law you decide to apply. And Elon Musk doesn't get to shut down the USAID operation legally. He may be a dictator at Tesla, and he may be playing one here in Washington, D.C., but he doesn't get to shred the law of the land. And that's why I'm expecting that in the coming days, just like we saw judges in Rhode Island and here in the District of Columbia issue temporary restraining orders on President Trump's efforts to freeze important federal funds going to communities all over our country, that same argument will be used with respect to this illegal action and takeover of USAID. Mr. President, I want to close with this, because you would think that all of us, regardless of party, would want to stand up for the law, that we wouldn't want Elon Musk to be able to shred it unilaterally. And we got this letter from Secretary Rubio a few days ago, and clearly he's playing catch up here. Clearly he's not in control of AID, even though it says that he's now taking control of the operations at USAID. Here's what the letter says. This letter provides notice and advises you of our intent to initiate consultations with you regarding the manner in which foreign aid is distributed around the world through the United States Agency for International Development. Consultations. He really should talk to Elon Musk, who's tweeting out that he's putting AID in the wood chipper and that he's killing AID. All of us are prepared to sit down for a conversation about how we can reform AID, if we want to better integrate it into our overall foreign policy operations. That is a matter for Congress to deliberate on in consultation with the State Department. But Secretary Rubio sent this down after the doors had been closed on AID. This is just a cover up for the fact that he wasn't controlling what was going on. And I think as members of the Senate, we have an obligation, if we care at all about our lawmaking duties and care at all about whether or not when we appropriate funds for AID, they're actually spent as we indicated, we all have an interest in making sure that this process operates in a legal way. And what Elon Musk is doing is flat out illegal. And if our colleagues won't join together on a bipartisan basis to do it, the courts are stepping in. But the courts shouldn't have to do our job. So I appeal to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, if you care about the Constitution, and if you care about Article 1, you should be rising up when Elon Musk is talking about putting AID through the wood chipper and saying it should die. I will be back a little later on the floor, Mr. President, to talk about Russ Vought's place and the role he plays in this operation. But for now, I yield the floor.